You ever meet someone who just seems to move through life like the rules don't apply to them? Things line up, people show up, opportunities seem to land in their lap. And from the outside it looks like luck, but it's not luck. It's frequency. It's energy. It's a different level of alignment. And once you understand it, once you learn how to live from it, everything changes. Your energy starts creating instead of chasing. Your focus becomes your power, not your prison. Because here's the truth most people miss. Life doesn't respond to effort. It responds to energy. You can try for years. You can grind yourself into exhaustion and still feel stuck if the signal underneath all that action is fear. If it feels like nothing's working right now, it's not because you're broken. It's not because you're doing it wrong. It's because you've been tuned into a version of reality that doesn't fit you anymore. You've outgrown the frequency that built your old life. You're still broadcasting a signal that says, I have to struggle. I have to prove. I have to fight for what's mine. And the universe, the field, whatever name you give it, it listens to that. It mirrors back what you are, not what you wish for. That's why some people keep running in circles. Because they're trying to think their way into change, instead of feeling their way into alignment. You've probably felt that friction before. That quiet sense that something is off. Even when everything looks fine. That's not failure. That's feedback. It's your inner field telling you that your energy and your evolution are out of sync. It's life saying, you're not supposed to be in this frequency anymore. And when you finally listen, when you stop forcing and start tuning, you'll notice something wild. Reality starts bending toward you instead of away from you. The truth is, we're all broadcasting something. Every thought, every emotion, every expectation sends out a signal, and the field, the fabric of everything, organizes itself to match that signal. So if you're constantly focused on what's missing, you'll keep finding proof of lack. If you're obsessed with how hard it is, you'll keep meeting resistance. But the moment you shift your signal, the moment you choose to broadcast from the energy of trust instead of tension, everything begins to rearrange. Not slowly, instantly, because energy doesn't wait for time. It just responds to coherence. That's why the ones who seem to attract everything aren't necessarily smarter or more talented. They're simply tuned. They've learned how to quiet the noise long enough to feel their real frequency. They don't chase. They allow. They don't doubt. They decide. And that's what personal growth really is. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering the version of you who already knows how to create with energy instead of fear. Most people live in reaction. Something happens and they decide how to feel. A good message, a good mood, a setback, stress. But growth begins when you reverse that pattern. When you learn to generate the energy first. When you wake up and decide, I'm going to feel aligned before I see proof. That's when you stop being a victim of your environment and start becoming a creator of it. Because your state is your broadcast, and your broadcast is what builds your world. So if you feel like you've been running hard but staying in the same place, maybe it's time to stop pushing and start tuning. Maybe it's not more action you need, but more alignment. Because in the quantum sense, alignment isn't about waiting for everything to line up. It's about becoming the version of you who already feels clear, ready, and certain now. That shift in energy, that choice to align before the evidence, is what opens the door to everything you've been asking for. And here's where it gets real. You can't fake your energy. You can say all the right words, you can visualize every day, you can fill journals with affirmations, but if your body is still vibrating with fear, the universe hears that. The field reads that, and it sends back matching feedback, not as punishment but as precision. Because reality always mirrors your broadcast. Always. Once you understand that, once you stop waiting for signs and start becoming the signal, life moves differently. It stops testing you and starts aligning with you. You'll notice how people shift around you, how doors open faster, how the right timing seems to find you. It's not coincidence. It's coherence. Because when you live as the version of you who's already at peace, already magnetic, already whole, the field bends to meet that frequency. This is where personal growth meets quantum manifestation. It's not just mindset, it's energy management. It's the art of remembering who you are beneath the noise. You're not chasing success. You're not chasing peace. You're tuning to the frequency where those already exist. And once you start living from that space, life begins to feel lighter, faster, easier. You realize nothing outside of you ever needed to change. Only your signal did. And that's the start of the shift. Because once you understand this frequency, your reality shifts. You've heard people say energy is everything. But what they don't tell you is that energy is information. It's a code. It's what decides how reality responds to you. Every emotion, every thought, every reaction is part of that code. So when you keep repeating the same emotions, you keep sending the same signal. You can change your plans, your routines, even your goals. But if your energy stays the same, your results stay the same. Because the universe doesn't answer words. It answers vibration. Think about it like a frequency dial. You can't tune into joy while broadcasting stress. You can't tune into abundance while carrying the frequency of lack. The energy of effort says, I'm not there yet. The energy of alignment says, I already am. And that one shift changes everything. Because when your body and mind start to match that signal, the field has no choice but to rearrange around it. Most people think change comes from control, more focus, more discipline, more doing. But the truth is, control often blocks the very flow you're trying to create. You don't need more control. You need more coherence. Coherence is when your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions stop fighting each other. It's when your entire being sends one clear message to the universe. I am ready. I trust, I allow. And when that happens, energy starts moving. Doors that were closed start opening. Connections appear out of nowhere. It's not luck. It's alignment in motion. Here's the mistake so many people make. They chase results from a state of resistance. They're trying to prove they're enough instead of knowing they are. They work harder not because they love what they do, but because they're afraid of what happens if they stop. That fear becomes the frequency, and the universe doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your emotion. So no matter how much you do, if your core energy says I'm still lacking, then that's what gets mirrored back. But here's the good news. Energy doesn't hold grudges. The moment you change your state, your frequency starts rewriting your field. You don't have to wait years. You don't have to fix everything first. You just have to align one emotion, one thought, one breath at a time. That's how quantum manifestation really works. You shift your state and your state shifts your world. Let's make it real. Think of a time you felt completely at peace. Maybe you were walking outside, maybe you were listening to music. Maybe you were just breathing. For that moment, you weren't fighting your life. You weren't doubting yourself. You were just present. That's coherence. That's the state that creates miracles. Because in that space, your signal is clean. It's clear. It's magnetic. You're not asking life for anything. You're matching it. Now imagine living from that state more often. Not all the time, not perfectly, but enough to make it your new normal. Imagine if you started your mornings not by checking your phone, but by checking your frequency. What am I broadcasting today? Am I aligned with fear or trust? Am I creating from love or lack? Because once you get honest with yourself about your signal, you stop repeating the same loops. You stop creating from autopilot. You begin to live with intention, not reaction. This is what personal growth looks like in the quantum sense. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about releasing the version of you that keeps rehearsing pain. The version that says maybe one day. The version that thinks life has to be hard. Because the moment you drop that narrative, you become free. You stop needing to fight for change. You start feeling into it. And that feeling is what starts shifting everything. You've probably noticed how some people seem calm even in chaos. They're not ignoring reality. They've just stopped feeding it fear. They've learned that their reaction is what programs their future. So they choose their response like a ritual. Not because they're pretending to be positive, but because they know that energy builds worlds. They understand that every emotional choice is a vote for the timeline they want to live in. So what would it look like if you started living that way? If instead of chasing change, you became the energy of change, you'd notice how much lighter life feels. You'd see how quickly people and situations start matching your new state. And it's not because the world suddenly got easier. It's because you started creating from wholeness instead of from the wound. Personal growth is not about fixing yourself. It's about remembering your power. It's about tuning your energy back to clarity, to love, to peace, because those frequencies don't just attract good things. They reveal the truth of who you already are. You are not behind. You are not unworthy. You are not broken. You are energy in motion, and that motion can always shift. Once you start practicing this awareness, your life becomes a reflection of your inner calibration. You stop forcing outcomes. You start feeling them into existence. You realize you don't need to chase purpose. You radiate it. You don't need to prove your worth. You embody it. That's what the next level of your growth is really about. It's not another self-improvement project. It's a return to alignment, because here's the secret most people overlook. Reality doesn't change when you finally get what you want. It changes the moment you decide to live as if you already have it. That decision is energetic. It's a frequency shift. It's the moment your field says, I'm done waiting. I'm done doubting. I'm here. I'm aligned. And the universe hears that. It always does. There comes a point when you realize it's not your goals that need to change. It's your identity. Because identity is frequency. It's the code your energy sends out before you say a single word. Every belief you carry, every assumption you make, every emotion you repeat, builds the pattern of your broadcast. So even when you want something new, if your identity is still tied to the old version of you, the field keeps mirroring that. You can't create expansion from the vibration of contraction. Think about it. You can want success all day long, but if deep down you still see yourself as someone who struggles, your energy will keep finding ways to prove that true. You can say you're ready for love, but if your frequency is still anchored in fear of rejection, you'll keep meeting reflections of that fear. The field is neutral. It doesn't judge. It just matches. It mirrors back the signal of who you are being in this moment. This is why so many people stay stuck. They think manifestation is about visualizing something new, but visualization alone doesn't shift identity. You have to feel it. You have to become it, because the field doesn't hear your words. It hears your vibration, and vibration is emotion in motion. It's the energy you embody when no one's watching. That's what reality responds to. So how do you shift it? You start by becoming aware of the story you've been repeating. Every time you say, I'm not ready, or I don't know how, you're reinforcing a version of yourself that's no longer real. You're feeding the frequency of limitation, but you can decide at any moment to stop rehearsing that version, to stop feeding that identity. You can choose to align with the version of you who already knows they're capable. The version who doesn't question if it's possible, but simply assumes it is. Identity isn't something you earn. It's something you claim. And when you claim a new identity, your frequency adjusts instantly. The shift isn't in the doing. It's in the being. That's why some people seem to quantum leap. They didn't get lucky. They just stopped identifying as the version of themselves who needed permission. They started living as the version who already was. Picture it for a second. Imagine two versions of you walking through the same day. One wakes up and immediately feels behind. They rush, they react, they chase validation. The other wakes up and already feels aligned. They move slower, but every step has intention. They trust the timing. They expect things to work out. Same world, same conditions, different identity. And because the energy is different, the outcomes are too. This is the secret of identity shifting. You stop trying to get somewhere. You start being the version of you who's already there. That version doesn't wait for proof. They create it. They don't hope for opportunities. They magnetize them. Because the universe doesn't respond to your goals. It responds to your frequency. And frequency is shaped by identity. Most people think identity is built from experience, but it's the other way around. Experience is built from identity. Your energy programs your perception. Your perception programs your actions, and your actions reinforce the world you see. So if you want to change your world, you start by changing the frequency of who you believe yourself to be. You start by saying, I'm no longer the person who doubts. I'm no longer the person who waits. I'm the one who knows, the one who moves, the one who trusts. And as you repeat that, not as empty affirmation but as emotional truth, your body starts to believe it. Your field starts to shift. The moment you decide to stop betraying your future self, everything around you begins to move. The right people appear. The right timing unfolds. The old resistance starts to dissolve. Because the universe loves clarity, and a clear signal always gets a response. When your energy says, I'm ready, I'm aligned, I'm already there, life echoes that back. But here's where most people get stuck again. They think alignment means perfection. It doesn't. You'll still have moments of doubt, fear, uncertainty. The difference is, you stop identifying with them. You let them move through without building a home in them. You remember that emotions are energy, not definitions. You are not your passing state. You are the field beneath it, the one that always knows how to return to center. When you start living from that awareness, you stop reacting to life as if it's happening to you. You start shaping it from the inside out. You realize your frequency is the cause, not the effect. You stop saying things like, I'll feel confident when I succeed. Instead, you start saying, I succeed because I feel confident now. And that one decision rewires your reality. Because once your identity matches your desired frequency, time collapses. The path clears. The opportunities you thought you had to chase start showing up uninvited. It's not magic. It's physics. When energy aligns, reality has no choice but to rearrange. And once you experience that even once, you'll never want to go back to the old way again. That's the power of self-awareness at the quantum level. The realization that you are not chasing your dreams. You are aligning with the version of you who's already living them. And when you remember that, growth stops being a struggle. It becomes a natural consequence of alignment. You stop forcing your evolution and start allowing it. You become the field instead of fighting it. So if you're wondering what to do next, stop asking how to get there. Start asking how to feel like the version of you who already is there. What do they think? How do they speak? How do they walk into a room? Because that energy, that posture, that internal tone is your portal. It's how you access timelines that already exist. You don't climb to them, you tune into them. This is where the inner shift becomes visible. People start noticing. Things start accelerating. You start realizing that nothing ever needed to be forced. You just had to remember who you are beneath the noise. The version of you that doesn't chase validation because they radiate certainty. The version that doesn't beg for signs because they are the sign. That's who you've always been. You just forgot. And now you're remembering. You're remembering that reality is not linear. It's not step by step. It's frequency by frequency. When you tune into the higher one, the old version fades. The struggle dissolves. The path clears. You don't push your way into new dimensions. You align your way into them, and once you do, life becomes less about trying and more about allowing. Because alignment doesn't take effort, it takes awareness. So here's the question. Who are you ready to be now? Not someday, not after the proof. Now. Because the version of you who's already aligned is waiting, not in the future. In this frequency. All you have to do is tune in. There comes a moment when awareness isn't enough. You've understood the energy. You've felt the shift. You know what alignment means. But now it's about embodiment, because knowledge without embodiment doesn't create change. It just circles the same insight. Real transformation happens when your daily energy matches your higher awareness. When you stop visiting alignment and start living in it, that's where integration begins. The small moments, the ordinary choices, the way you speak to yourself in silence, the way you respond when nothing seems to be working. Those moments are your practice. They're where you either fall back into your old frequency or anchor the new one. Every thought, every emotion, every choice is a signal. So ask yourself, what am I broadcasting now? Because that awareness is how you build coherence in real time. You start to notice the patterns, the triggers, the habits that keep your energy looping in old stories. But instead of judging them, you start thanking them, because now you see they're just signals, indicators of where your frequency still needs recalibration. And the more you meet them with awareness instead of resistance, the faster they dissolve. Energy transmuted through understanding doesn't return as pain. It returns as power. This is where your practice becomes simple. You stop chasing alignment and start choosing it. Every morning you tune your energy before you touch your day. You sit with yourself. You breathe into your body. You feel the space between thoughts. You remind yourself that you don't need to wait for peace. You can generate it. You remind yourself that you don't need proof of your power. You are the proof. You remind yourself that the universe isn't somewhere out there. It's here, matching you now. And when the world tries to pull you back into noise, you stay centered. You remember that emotion is energy in motion, not a command. You let it move through without giving it meaning. You trust that even when you can't see the evidence, the field is still rearranging. Because energy doesn't lie. When your signal is consistent, the result is inevitable. You stop reacting from fear. You start responding from awareness. You stop trying to control what's uncertain. You start aligning with what's true. And that truth is simple. You are energy first, matter second. You are vibration before you are form. You are the cause, not the effect. When you live from that understanding, life begins to feel different. Time moves differently. Possibilities show up faster. This is where the shift becomes effortless. You realize you don't have to fight to maintain your frequency. You just have to return to it, over and over until it becomes your default. That's how new timelines solidify. Through repetition, through intention, through emotion. The more you embody the energy of clarity, peace, and trust, the more your external world reflects it. Because reality is loyal to your vibration. It can't give you what you don't believe you are. So start acting from that belief. Walk into rooms like someone whose energy changes the space. Speak like someone whose words carry certainty. Move like someone who already knows they're guided. Because you are. You always have been. You just forgot the sound of your own frequency. Every day becomes a practice of remembering. When you wake up, you ask, what am I choosing to broadcast today? When doubt comes, you ask, what frequency am I feeding right now? When fear shows up, you breathe and say, this energy is not who I am. It's just passing through. And as you keep choosing awareness over reaction, you anchor into a new vibration. That's how real change happens. Not in one dramatic leap, but in 1,000 quiet moments of alignment. And here's the part that surprises most people. When you truly live in alignment, you stop needing outcomes to feel secure. You start enjoying the process itself. You find peace in uncertainty. You trust your timing again, and that trust becomes magnetic. People feel it. Opportunities recognize it. Life moves toward you because you've stopped resisting it. You've stopped standing in your own way. That's the moment you realize manifestation isn't about getting what you want. It's about becoming who you are. It's about shedding every layer of resistance between you and your natural state of flow. When you reach that space, everything else becomes simple. The things you were chasing start chasing you. The timing that once felt off starts feeling perfect, because you're finally in rhythm with the field. And this is where growth becomes peace. You no longer seek alignment like a destination. You live it like a language. You wake up tuned. You move with trust. You speak with intention. You rest in clarity. And the field, the quantum space that listens to every signal, keeps responding with more reasons to believe. So don't wait for the right moment. You are the moment. Don't wait for the sign. You are the signal. Don't wait for alignment. You are alignment remembering itself. Because everything you've been reaching for is already in the frequency you now hold. Take a breath. Feel that. This is your reminder that growth isn't found in striving. It's found in stillness, in trust, in choosing again and again to return to the version of you who already knows. Because that's where your power lives, in the quiet certainty that you are not chasing life. You are creating it, and the more you remember that, the more your reality bends to meet you. Not later, now, because the field is always listening, and it always responds to truth.